So tonight I'm introducing to you a good friend of mine and the #1 most conservative member of Congress, according to the National Journal. Yes! With a 100% rating of all of those American Conservative Union and all of those organizations. He is standing firm on principle in Washington. He's in his 4th term, and I just want to introduce all of you to my good friend and stalwart conservative, Congressman Trent.
Well, you know, I have to just tell you, it is probably of all the places that I get to go, of all the candidates I try to support, I can tell you honestly, there is no one on this planet that I would rather see come to Congress than Sidney Hay. Yeah. It's a genuine honor to be here with all of you. I saw a lady that I've known for, I've had about, what, 20 years, ever since she was a little girl, about that high. Saw Tracy Thomas back here, and it's his son Tracy, and it's kind of a scary thing. I'm looking up at this man, and I used to teach him in Sunday school when he was 1 year old. Time gets away so quickly, and I know the little babies kind of interrupted us tonight, and I can't talk about them much, because I always get a little bit choked up when I talk about them. But I'll tell you, you know, it probably is just a nice thing that they came just for a moment to see their dad, because they wanted to come up here with me is what they wanted to do. Because it reminds me, and I hope all of us, that really this whole equation, this whole effort that we're about in government, this whole enterprise of America, is about trying to make sure that future generations walk in the sunlight of liberty. And I just hope sometime that the rest of the world gets a hold of that. Because I heard a quote, Sidney, it said that great societies finally come when old men plant trees under whose shade they will never sit. Sometimes we just forget what it's all about. And I probably am feeling blessed beyond words to have my little children here tonight with me. It's the first political event like this that they were at a town hall with me once on an official event. This first political event that they've ever been to, and you know they didn't last long, did they? But I'm grateful for them being here, and I hope that we can always keep an eye out on those future generations, and hope that somehow what we do gives them and their peers, those generations that are coming up around our knees, the chance to walk on a higher road in a sunnier place of life. Because if we don't do that, then we really fail the test of our humanity in general. Now, I know that I'm speaking sort of to the stalwart people that are committed to the future of this country tonight from the Prescott area. I know that people don't come out for something like this just for the fun of it. So let me first start out by saying that I agree with every syllable that Sidney said as far as the country being in danger. I want us to not, you know, have a negative perspective, because it's not time to raise the white flag yet, but every word she said about our country being in trouble is absolutely true. I am afraid that this deficit and the resulting debt could threaten this country in a way that no military power has ever been able to do. And I can suggest to you that this administration, they have, I mean, I don't even know where to begin sometimes. It really becomes difficult, because this administration is so far to the left that it becomes almost surreal to try to describe them. You almost sound like you're just being, you know, speaking in hyperbole. But they have no grasp. Barack Obama has no grasp of the seriousness facing us in terms of an Iran gaining nuclear weapons capability and plunging us all into the shadow of nuclear terrorism. They have no understanding of the economic realities that this country faces and how to change it. Barack Obama's never signed anything but the back of the check. He's never signed the front of it. So he really doesn't understand what productivity is all about, and that it is the substance of all economy. He doesn't understand the constitutional foundations of this country. In fact, any understanding that he does have, his persuasion is antithetical to it completely. I mean, he seems to, if you take the big things, you know, the life, liberty, and property. Now, I know all of you say, no, he meant life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That's the Declaration. Life, liberty, and property are the 3 foundational rights of the Constitution. And this administration misses them all by a wide margin. On the issue of life, most of you know that this administration has no mercy on the unborn. And I will say to you, with their health care policies, probably it will be historically written that they had no mercy on those on the other end of the spectrum of life, those in the twilight of life either. So they simply don't understand that the Imago Dei is printed on every soul, that image of God, and they don't understand what it's all about, this essence of America that says the reason that we have rights as people is not because government gave them to us or because man gave them to us. We have rights because the one who raised the mountains and lifted the stars, God Almighty himself, ordained that human beings had the right to live and be free and to pursue their dreams. And our Constitution says that we have the right to life, liberty, and property. Well, I've already told you that they missed it on life. But they also miss it on liberty. And I suppose that our national security concerns are the first place to start. The fact that we live in a 911 world and that we're 65 years into the nuclear age ought to wake all of us up. If terrorists gain control of nuclear weapons, I just can't express to you what it means. It divides our future again, almost like, you know, the AD and BC. It just changes everything, because the ultimate foundations of every threat are twofold, and it's the intent and the capacity. If we don't know that jihadist terrorism has the intent to wipe out the family of man in terms of anybody that would disagree with their jihadist Islamist philosophy, then I want you to know we are not paying attention. The only thing that they lack is the capacity to do so. And if they had nuclear weapons capability, not only could they bring those into our country. People say, well, how would they get a nuclear weapon into this country? Well, let me just say two things. I can carry a W-88 nuclear warhead to that door. I mean, I would stumble around. It's very heavy. But I can carry one in my arms. And as far as coming into the country, why don't they just hide it in a bale of marijuana? Now, somebody's supposed to laugh there. That's fine. You know, in other words, the idea that they can't get something that size into this country is just ludicrous. I've introduced a bill to that end that would give us nuclear detector equipment all along the border for that reason. But the bottom line is this administration doesn't have the will or the courage to protect our liberty. And as far as our property, they've already essentially confiscated half of the private sector economy. They've already taken that over as government controlled, whether it's health care, the banking industry, the auto industry, and I think that they're just getting warmed up if they are not stopped. Now, let me stop there. Well, no, let me say one more thing about the whole constitutional foundations of the nation, the real core of it all. This administration is putting people on the Supreme Court that have no respect for the Constitution whatsoever. Every time the courts sit down, it's a brand new constitutional convention. They seem completely willing to rewrite the Constitution without any remorse whatsoever. Rather than apply the law and the Constitution as it's written, they want to place their own imprimatur and their own, really, they want to interpret it in a way that it simply is antithetical to what the Constitution says. So, and remember, it's always the water on the inside of the ship that sinks it, so that's an important point. The bottom line is, if we don't stop this administration, I truly believe that it will mark the place when people that live 100 generations will look back and say, that's where America started down forever. I mean, it is that serious. And I wish I could say that without saying it that way. But I don't know anything else that would do it justice but to say it's absolutely that important. And every politician, Sidney, that stands before people tells people how bad it is and that they're the only ones that can solve it. And I'm not here to do that here. I'm here to say to you that if we can regain the House of Representatives, now if we can regain the Senate, that would be great. But if we can regain the House of Representatives, that's where all of the financial bills, all of the appropriations bills, all the money bills have to start. And if we can do that, especially with people that have the courage that Sidney Hay has and has demonstrated time and again, if we can do that, I promise you we can stop this administration from going any further than they already are. That doesn't mean that we can reverse it, but we can stop it. And then if we can keep our courage, if we can keep the Tea Parties out there and everybody going out there and keep our focus and keep committed long enough to change presidents 2.5 years from now, we might save the last best hope of mankind on earth for our children and our children's children. But if we fail to do that, I promise you, the equation has never been more desperate. Because, you know, it's not like a foreign enemy has come in here. It's the fact that now the enemy is on the inside of the ship. And we really have to change that.